My name is Daisy Leo Asikiri, and I'll say welcome to today's edition of the show. We're going to be talking about youth travel, a growing market. That's the topic. We're actually thinking of talking about traveling and how it's going to benefit you, 2020, traveling as an education and all that, but everyone seems to be focusing more on youths this season, this period. And there was a recent study at the Michigan States in the United States that said between the ages of 12 and 18 in the last year, this year that just ended, they raised about $10 billion from youths that traveled without their parents' support or consent or without a guardian. They went in groups. They combined those who went in groups, who went alone between the ages of 12 to 18. That's just one state, and we're talking about $12 billion. It's actually generating a huge sum for several states. But if we bring it down home to a country like Nigeria, we don't really have statistics. We cannot say how much these markets is raising before we talk about those who are traveling legally and then add those who are traveling illegally. My God, that's a lot of dough we're making in the Nigerian markets. But we're talking about this, and I have two guests in the house with me today to talk about youth travel. Yeah, you're welcome once again.
Thank you so much.
He's not so much around. He's actually had to come all the way from Abuja. Yeah. We used to know him as an SUG, former SUG leader, University of Benin. He's still a spokesman for the Postgraduate Association, but now he's getting extra feathers now to his cap. He's a spokesman to the minority leader, Nigerian Youth Parliament, Abuja as well. So kudos and welcome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now the minority leader, Nigerian Youth Parliament, Abuja, by himself is also here. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And you've also seen him here before. And we talked about, was it traveling too? No, I think something. Entrepreneurship. Yeah. Okay, I can remember we talked very not so long ago. But welcome again. And we're talking about youth travel. Reason why they're both here, apart from the fact that they're both youth leaders, they're very well traveled. Now, these people are very, I'm talking international, not just within Nigeria. But I will start with asking what is traveling. Reason being that when I was much younger, my dad had a farm at Igwabazua. So when we're going to the farm, I always tell my friends we're traveling. I was very young, about 6. We're going to travel, we're going to travel. And then when I come back, they're asking me, where did you travel to? I say, Igwabazua, you know, and I was so excited about it. So I don't know if that's also part of traveling. I mean, we're still within Edo State. But what exactly is traveling? Who do I start with now? Okay, let me start with you. You're closest to me.
Well, traveling is holistic. So when you talk about traveling, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a specific distance.
Okay.
You know, it's a movement from one place to the other. In this time, probably there are preparations. Probably you have set goals, you have set reasons why you are moving from this particular place to the other place for the time being. For instance, when you were much younger, you said you have moved from probably Benin to Igobazua. And maybe Benin to Igobazua could have been, let's say, 10 minutes. No, 30 minutes. 30 minutes is traveling because you might have packed your bags, your baggages, and your luggages, and you might have fully prepared these things. And moving from Benin, maybe going to spend a week or thereabouts in whatever you have been to. So it's traveling. It's basically moving from one place to another. So irrespective of the time being and the kilometers, so provided you are moving from a static place to another place, it is traveling.
Okay, but how important is traveling for youths? Some will say traveling is a form of education. I don't know how I will equate traveling to the physics I studied in school, but how important is traveling to youths and to children? I actually want to ask 2 questions in one, but let me start with that one.
Traveling, it's a very, very important part of life. It's something that I think every family should be involved in. You know, not just as a family, even as an individual. So I'm aware that there are a lot of challenges in terms of finances moving from one city to another city, like he said, there's a planning for that one. Moving from my house to this place, there might not be so much planning to do because of the distance, as the case may be, but it's equally part of traveling. So traveling on its own is a form of, is an education. You get to learn a new way of life of the people living in that same city that you are visiting. You know, the culture, how things are being done differently from where you are coming from. Of course, it's another way for you to equally make friends, which is extending your network. So as one reason or the other, you should be able to travel, and in the process, of course, you'll be able to learn more.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it, and it's part of tourism too.
True. Now there was the study we saw at Michigan. The age was about 12 to 18. Well, personally, how old do you think people, young people, children, teenagers, or anyone, young people, like what age range would you say it's sane for them to travel without a guardian?
Well, everyone is a guardian in this context. So, but when you mean a guardian, I could invariably say you are talking about with your parents also. I remember then when we were growing up, if we were to leave the house for somewhere very far, all our parents needed to do was to put us in a bus, contact the person we are going to meet, and ensure the person picks us up at whatever location the bus is stopping. So in a country where things are well organized, a child can travel as maturity states. Their children were at 8, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They already know what is happening. They can read and write. They can also communicate. You know, one of the things you don't take away from traveling is communication, not the age. An old man can travel from a place to another place and get missing and get lost and the rest. So it's communication, but if you can communicate effectively, you can actually travel from one place to another. So the age should be based on maturity and not allowing excessively too low kids go due to dangers. For instance, now children who are below 5 years or 6 years should not travel except a guardian. This way, this way the child doesn't endanger his or herself to issues of, let's say kidnapping and the spectacular to a country like Nigeria. But these issues are not as much popular as it is in Nigeria elsewhere. So, but other reasons should be for guidance, like you have said, for somebody to monitor his or her activities so that you can ensure he or she gets to the time and the place exactly that he or she is going to. So that's the essence. But in Nigeria, you can say, okay, for reasons of security, for issues averting kidnapping, you understand, and for also you can mention cases of where the child doesn't misplace priority or uses the opportunity to go somewhere else. You understand? So that's why in traveling you must ensure that he or she is above a specific age. Okay.
All right, we still have a question coming up, but we will not take it yet. We're talking about how do you pick a place to travel to, but we have a set of documentaries we put together. We had that played sometime in December, but like I said, most of the editions of Flipside in December wasn't broadcast to every television. So it was for specific channels. But today we would give everyone the opportunity to learn and to get this information. So we're not going to hoard it or keep it for only cable users now. We have documentaries for the 6 geopolitical zones. We're just going to start with 2. We're splitting it and we have them at intervals. So we'll start with the first one. We still have a couple of days before schools resume. So some people are still very free and they have some days to kill, 3, 4, 5 days before work resumes properly or school resumes. And for teachers, at least, you can still travel. And you don't know where to go to, and maybe you don't have so much cash and you want to travel within Nigeria. This is just a guide to the places you could go to at the different geopolitical zones. So we're going to go take the first one and see where we can go to in whichever the 2 documentaries are going to pick. But we'll be right back.
The most populated country in Africa, Nigeria, has become an untapped tourist paradise with long stretches of exotic beaches, lush mountains, well-preserved tradition and culture, and enchanting tourist attractions. from the spiritual shrines to the ancient cities of the north, from the river deltas to the Yoruba kingdoms. Igbo's stunning environment, and among many simply pure sceneries, Nigeria leaves every visitor breathing hard with suspense and excitement. North Central. On landing in Lokoja, the then capital of the Northern Protectorate, Lord Lugard was so fascinated by Mount Patti that he built a rest house on its peak for relaxation and the viewing pleasure of the sprawling town. And viewing from the top of this mountain, Nigeria's longest river, the River Niger, meets the Benue River here at a point that forms the Y shape that is seen on the map of the country. The confluence point is an amazing sight. There, with one distinguishing feature that is easily prominent when viewed from Mount Patti, their colors can be easily seen. Whereas the River Niger water appears muddy, that of the Benue River appears light blue in color. It is claimed that it was here, filled with the beauty of the two great rivers and its confluence, that the Lady Flora Shaw had the idea to name the country Nigeria after River Niger. She called it Niger Area. The European cemetery is also in Lokoja, the largest of its kind in Nigeria. This cemetery contains the remains of missionaries and European soldiers of the West African Frontier Force stationed in Lokoja between 1867 and 1926. This cemetery is as large as 2 football pitches. Buried within these fenced grounds are men and women who shaped the course of Nigerian history from as far back as the 19th century, evidenced by some headstones dating around 1800s. There are brief inscriptions about those buried. In some places, the inscriptions give details on the buried people such as names, professions, addresses, and even nature of death. Zuma Rock, the monolithic iceberg with a human face, is located in Madala, Niger State, to the north of Abuja. It was once described as the unquestionable watchman of the FCT. It is the sandy concealment that hangs like a haze over Zuba town. The other mountains in and around it stay a considerable distance from it, which the Zuba people see as a form of respect being paid by the other mountains to Zuma Rock for its royal presence in the locality. It is impossible for visitors and tourists who come to Abuja not to see this magnificent structure. It has always been a center of attraction for many tourists. Although it is located in Madala, Niger State, it has over time become a major symbol of Abuja's landscape due to its proximity to Abuja city. Behind the rock is a Zuma Rock Nigeria village, which was built to accommodate tourists visiting the rock. Visiting Zuma Rock between April and October, which marks the rainy season in central Nigeria, where the rock is situated, would afford you opportunity to see the much talked about Zuma Rock fire, as the apex of the rock catches fire under heavy rainfall. Over time, this has remained one of the wonders to behold. Dada Pottery is located at the Dada area of Ilorin, Kwara State capital. The Dada area is located in Okilele, Ilorin East Local Government of Kwara State. The Dada Pottery Workshop showcases one of the traditional occupations of women in Ilorin. It is reputed to be one of the biggest traditional pottery factories in Nigeria. Cooking, flour, and frying pots, as well as water storage containers, are produced there and exported to other parts of the country and abroad. The community of potters is called Ibu Dada and is located within the Dada Okilele communities in outskirts of Ilorin southwest. The Ikogosi Warm Springs is located in Ikogosi, Ekiti State of Nigeria. It is a confluence of hot and cold springs meeting at a point, with each maintaining its own thermal properties. Tests revealed that the temperature of this warm spring is about 70 degrees Celsius at the source and about 37 degrees Celsius at the point where the warm and cold springs merge together. It is also a great tourist attraction situated on over 116 hectares of land in southwestern Nigeria, with recent renovations made at Warm Springs by the former governor Kayode Fayemi to include swimming pools, restaurants, hotels, guest house, a 1,000 capacity amphitheater, and a conference hall that can seat over 600 people at a time. The Olumo Rock is located in Ogun State. It is a popular tourist attraction and an ancient fortress used by the Egba people as a refuge during war times in the 19th century. The ancient rock was renovated for tourism in 2006 and upgraded for tour infrastructures with a museum, water fountain, restaurant, elevators, and other fascinating features built to make visiting and climbing the rock a huge delight. The Idorin Hill in Idorin town of Ondo State is a place to visit. The hill is also called Oke Idorin. It is situated 3,000 feet above sea level, and its physical features include the Owas Palace, shrines, Old Court, Belfry, Agbogun footprint, Thunder Water, and burial mounds. The Idorin Hill became a UNESCO World Heritage Site on October 8, 2007. At the entrance of the city of Idorin and the hill is an ancient tree called Iraye tree, and beyond this are rich fauna and flora which make the hill a fascinating tourist center. The hill is a home to thousands of bats and a bat festival celebrated every year among the people. It is also home to several monkeys and the hyrax, a tailless animal often sighted around the Orosun Hill. Many filmmakers use this location as location for shooting cultural films. The Osun Oshogbo Sacred Grove, also known simply as the Osun Sacred Grove. This is a dense forest covering an area of 75 hectares on the outskirts of the city of Oshogbo in Osun State along the Osun River. It is one of the last remnants of primary high forest in southwestern Nigeria, which extends to the edges of most Yoruba cities before intensive urbanization eroded its reach. The grove is believed to be the home of Osun, the Yoruba goddess of fertility. It is dotted with sanctuaries and shrines, sculptures and artworks in her honor. The sacred grove, seen as a symbol of identity for all Yoruba people, is a last in Yoruba culture, a testimonial to the once widespread practice of establishing sacred groves outside settlements.
That Osun Grove is one part I would really love to visit. For those of you watching it and thinking, juju, that's your local. That's another reason why we don't develop our own stuff in Nigeria. So for those who really want to travel, there are some sites you can visit in a few days you have left before work and school starts proper. I have Oguchi Divine and I have Uwadia Didi in the house, and together we're talking about your travels. So before we went on the break, I asked a question. I was talking about how do you pick a place to travel to? I know you two travel a lot, because I want to know how you just select and say, okay, is that you just wake up and say to next month I'm going to travel in South Africa it is, and you just go. So how do you make your selection? Let me start with you, Didi.
First of all, traveling is planned. Like recently, myself and Divine here, we visited Rwanda. We visited Rwanda for the African Youth Connect. We felt it was an opportunity to meet with people, you know, and equally visit the Rwanda Genocide Memorial Center. There were some things that we've heard so much about Rwanda. Oh, if you go there, they are killing each other. There was a lot of sad stories about Rwanda. So we decided to say, okay, let us see for ourselves. What will it cost to go to Rwanda?
Really?
So we started planning Rwanda. So it was something that triggered it, the African Youth Connect. It was a program. So beside the program, we started saying, okay, how do we visit these places and this place? What do we get to benefit? The memories, pictures. Let us find out for ourselves what is in Kigali. So we decided to take a tour. So picking a place is about passion. It's about what you think you want to see. Most times, this passion is being motivated by your friends, by the movies you watch, by the news you read. Facebook, different part of social media could equally ignite your place that you wish to pick to visit, even within Nigeria. Recently, I was in Kano, I was in Sokoto, I was in Zamfara, I was in Katsina. All of these were being motivated by friends, by people. You know, in one way or the other, like I said, it's not just about seeing the tourist sites that some places have tourist sites, some places do not. But wanting to learn about culture, wanting to learn about new things, seeing things for yourself for real, it's one major reason what prepares us to pick a place and to travel.
Okay.
And yes, traveling is not as expensive as we think. Even flying is not as expensive as we think, if only we plan. If you plan your journey, you can actually travel anywhere in the world, because there are cheap flights, There are cheap buses to go to all these places. You want to go to Lagon in Ghana, you can use FX Executive. As in you can, what I'm trying to say is, you can use a bus to that place. You know, you must not fly. So if you don't have money to fly, you can decide to use a bus. And it's equally a part of tourism because you have to visit Benin, Togo before you equally get to Ghana. So if you are able to plan properly, traveling is not so difficult to engage in, and it's not that expensive. And picking a place is equally not that very, very difficult. It comes with interest and, of course, what you see. And that's it.
Okay. I've seen pictures. So I know you have done a lot last year. So I want to know, of all the places you've traveled so far, I'm going to ask both of you, but I'll start with you. And which is your favorite? And where is next on your list? Personal question. So Divine.
Well, 2019, I was in Edinburgh. I was in Aberdeen, Scotland.
Okay.
I was also in Manchester.
Ah.
Yes, I was in Manchester. I landed in Manchester. So the best for me, I would practically choose Aberdeen.
Why?
Aberdeen, because my friends were in Aberdeen, so I could practically.
So
I enjoyed most of my time in Aberdeen, and the weather was such lovely and cool. Also, to throw more light on the issue you earlier raised on the reasons why you must look at certain things before you travel. I'm a sociologist. I'm currently reading sociology and education at master's level. One of the things you hear is you hear about realism, you hear about idealism. Traveling is meeting realism. You get not just what people tell you. They tell you if you go to Kano, you see one big house that is no. These are ideas people are telling you. When you get there, you see for yourself. Whatever they have said about a particular place, it's also a way to learn cultural integration. There are many things we practically do in Nigeria today that are not eminent to Nigeria, that was not Nigeria. But because of the fact that many of our fathers traveled, many of our persons traveled and interacted, they were able to borrow some of this culture, and we are using them today in our day-to-day dealings and our everyday life. Sure. The clothes we put on, the way we speak, the way we talk. Sometimes these are a borrowed culture. And as well, many of the other countries too must have borrowed one or two things from Nigeria. So practically, traveling is infused in education. So it's a special kind of education. You understand? So while traveling, you are learning. For instance, if we are talking about Scotland, I can practically tell you about 5 places in Scotland that I have visited. Not because I read them in books or the rest, but because I have gone there to see for myself. If you tell me about Glasgow, I was in Glasgow. I was in Edinburgh. So you talk about Edinburgh is the capital of Scotland. Yeah. So when you go to Edinburgh, you see their train stations, you see their coaches, you see their tram stations, you see their railway lines, you see, these are some of the things they tell you here, and you think, it's not visible, it's not possible. But when you go to these places, you discover that these things are practicable.
And people are working.
Yes, they are actually working. For instance, sorry to divert a little, Rwanda is a country of 1,000 hills. Now, we're in Nigeria, and they'll tell you the reason why they can't build roads is because there are many hills. But it's a lie. We have gone to Rwanda and we have seen where there are many hills and they are building roads. Good roads. Good roads. Good roads. So if you don't travel, many of these things they tell you, you think they can lie to you. Yeah. But when you travel, you see things for yourself. You don't just live on ideas or facts. You live on the truth. You live on basic information and knowledge. You already have a knowledge and basic idea. For instance, if I'm not here now, I don't know how the studio looks like. Yeah. If I'm telling somebody who is at home how the studio looks like, he or she might not have the because they think the studio looks like what they're saying. Yeah, thank you. But when they are here, they can tell how the studio looks like. Exactly. That's what traveling is. Like, when you travel, you get a clearer picture of how a place looks like, and you get to learn. You build culture. Get cultural integration, cultural relativism. For instance, you say in my culture, we don't eat snake. But there are some other persons that eat snake. Does it make your culture superior and the other inferior? No, it's cultural relativism. Each culture must be judged from the way it is lived by the people, and not the way you live your culture. So traveling is basically experience and education.
So where's the next place you're planning to visit?
You've
not planned it yet.
I'm very sure I am the minority leader. We have the same place we are planning to visit. But I will leave that question for you to answer, because whatever it is, it's in my mind.
Okay, so which of them is your favorite? Why, of all the places you've gone to, why it's your favorite as well?
I love Africa so much. I think my favorite place I've visited in these recent times is Morocco.
Morocco.
Yeah, I've heard so much about Morocco. You know, I heard so much about them, and I was in Sale, Rabat, Morocco. The kind of food they eat, I didn't know. I used to see some white people on TV that were Africans, but I equally felt in all these African countries we should equally have blacks. But Morocco is one place that do not have any black at all. They are all whites, no blacks. They are all Arab, they are all French speaking and Arabic people. They barely even speak English, you get? And looking at the rate of their development is something that we should emulate, because we keep saying Nigeria is the giant of Africa. I don't really know what that means anyway, because in Morocco, there's a lot of, everything he says happens in the United Kingdom, happens in Morocco. They have trains, they have electric, they have trams, metro stations, they have everything existing. There are cabs. When you take a cab from point A to point B, you don't have to ask or start asking the driver how much you want to carry me. No, you don't have to. If it takes you from point A to point B, there's a meter there that tells you how much you have to pay. So you don't have to start debating on price or one or two reasons. You don't. If you get missing, they have a free 60 seconds telephone that you can just go to along the road. You make a call. They have, most of their substations have internet everywhere. So you can't say if you are in this 21st generation where everybody uses a smartphone, there's no way you get missing because of the map. So they have internet, free internet everywhere. So automatically you can access the World Wide Web and get any information you wish to get. And the most intriguing part of it is the fact that they still have like our mode. They have a king there instead of a president. So the castle of the king is built, and the fence is built with mud. The mud is more than 12 feet in terms of width. It's very, very, very wide. Very, very wide. So these are sites that they have, maintained over centuries or years. And people keep traveling there to look at these walls, these big walls that I'm not sure how many bullets, I'm not sure any bullet can penetrate those walls because of the width. So the truth is, I think Nigeria has to grow up. I think we need to start learning, and our leaders need to start seeing how they can develop our place, Nigeria. And because we have a lot of tourist sites that are not being propagated in a right manner, they are not being, they don't even put money into it, first of all, to less of promoting it. So I think we can get better, and Morocco is actually far
giant looking.
giant than Nigeria. Yeah, so
okay.
Then on our next visit,
our
next visit, we intend to visit. There are already plans on ground to visit Abu Dhabi for the urbanization, for the United Nations urbanization program that will be held in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, UAE. So we'll be in UAE next month. Okay. To attend that program, equally to learn a new culture from the people.
And I'm going to tag along. That's not true. Okay, so we'll still check a few other tourist sites in Nigeria. We said 6 geopolitical zones, and no matter how much discussion we really want to cover, we'll have to manage our time so that we can reach out, have the talks, and still give you the information you crave about where to visit within our nation here. Might not be as cool looking as you're seeing it on television, but they're definitely what I see. So let's see the 2 other geopolitical zones you could visit and places you could visit in them. And we'll come back to the studio, we'll talk about safety.
Umuahia, Abia State. It was established in 1985 One phase that can never be forgotten in the history of Eastern Nigeria is the period of the Biafran War. The war took place between 1967 and 1970. It was a bitter and brutal war. So, if you want to relive the war experience, you should visit the National War Museum. And still in Abia State, the long juju of Aruchukwu. Aruchukwu is a peaceful and quiet town in Abia State. Situated in this town is the long juju of Aruchukwu. This mystic shrine's significance was boosted by the slave trade activities that took place around the shrine, thus making it one of the most important tourist attractions in southeastern Nigeria. Aum Waterfalls. The waterfall is located in Amangwe village in Udi local government of Enugu State. The fall is 30 meters high and a section of it is always warm throughout the year. The water is also reported to have spiritual and healing properties. Ogbunike Cave is in Anambra State. The Ogbunike Cave is arguably the most popular tourist destination in the region. The cave is located in Anambra State. They are inhabited by a large colony of bats of various sizes, and tourists have to take 317 ascending stairs to get to the entrance of the cave, where visitors are required to take off their shoes. Visitors are also required to drop some money at the entrance of the cave. It is currently on the tentative list of the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization's World Heritage Site. There is a fishing festival worth seeing in Kebbi State. The festival was initiated in 1934 in Argungu, Kebbi State. It is an annual 4-day event in the state. It is mostly celebrated in the month of February after the end of all farming activities. More than 30,000 fishermen take part in the annual Argungu Fishing Festival. The main event of the festival is a 45 minutes fishing contest in River Mata Fada, where fishing nets and traditional gourds made with calabashes are used. In 2005, the winner caught a fish weighing 75 kilograms. It was the biggest fish that had been caught in the festival to date. Furthermore, there is canoe racing, wild duck hunting, bare-handed fishing, diving competitions, and naturally swimming. Afterwards, there is drinking, singing, and dancing into the night. The festival marks the end of the growing season and harvest. A 1-mile stretch of the Argungu River is protected throughout the year so that the fish will be plentiful for this 45 minutes fishing frenzy. In 2018, the state decided to resuscitate the festival by also adding polo tournament to the event. So, all tourism stakeholders are going to partner with the Kebbi State government to ensure that the festival, which has been comatose for some years, is revived to promote our country as a tourism destination. Kano City Wall and Gates. The city walls and gates are landmarks that open a window to the past existence of the people. Although the original outlook of most of the city wall has been destroyed, what now stands are replicas of the preserved walls. This ancient city wall with 14-kilometer radius earth structure was completed in the 14th century to provide security to the growing population of the old Kano city in the wake of an external aggression. Numbering about 15, the city walls once served as defensive facilities with gates and also demarcated the abode of the indigents from those of strangers.
Interesting that you just saw those walls, Kano walls, looking so fine in some parts, and then the other part you just see the walls crumbled on the ground, and then there's a flood next to it. That's what you get. It's not my fault. But you still find something if you go to Kano to go check the walls out. You still see some remnants. We're hoping eventually it could be built. But before we go to some myths about traveling, people have collected, swallowed, and it has kept them stuck in their homes. What about, we're going to do a few safety tips you would want to give to people who have made up their mind you're going to travel. Maybe not now, maybe during Easter, and they might be traveling outside or within Nigeria, things they should just know as they move. And I'll share it. Essentials they should travel with, safety tips. Okay. Okay, safety essentials. All right, let's swap.
Any which way. Okay.
Safety.
Well.
Okay.
Safety essential will mix.
Oh yeah, share.
Thank you so much. You know, there is one thing that is particular about traveling, you might not be too conversant with the culture you are going to meet over there. Whether you are traveling within or outside Nigeria, you might not know what is happening over there. But one of the essentials is you must get basic things that are of necessity to you. For instance, the kind of food you eat. You can take in, you know, the basic things like your wares, your food. I remember when we were traveling to Rwanda, we thank God we took with us some cartons of spaghetti, food like gari and ogbono and our local made foods here. The reason being because you might be very angry with yourself if some of these things are not your accomplice. Because when you get there, you might meet an entirely different kind of meal. And it could discourage you from wanting to travel. I remember somebody once said he was in Texas, and when he landed in Texas, the only thing he was looking out for was where they said local foods. You understand, where you can see a Nigerian eatery. You understand, where you can go and eat local food. So one of the essential things you need while traveling is as basic as food. You understand? So no matter how you can pack them in little quantity, depending on the time being you are staying there, you have to take all these things along with you. When you are traveling locally as well, since it's local within Nigeria, some of the foods particular to a particular state,
I agree with you.
They are always around wherever you are going to. So it might not be too necessary when you are traveling within Nigeria, but when you are traveling outside Nigeria, it is of importance. You take some of these things along. Didi?
Okay.
Yeah, he has said it. I think the world has really grown. I know the world has grown. So when you are traveling to any place within Nigeria, outside Nigeria, you have to, Google has made it very easy. You can just Google and know the temperature of that place. Like I said, December, I think 28th, I was in Kano.
Yeah.
Kano was
freezing.
12 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it's freezing.
I was living in Benin, I was 32, and everybody was shouting, Hamatan, Hamatan, Hamatan. And most of it falls to 30 degrees. And everybody shouts, Hamatan. They can't move, they can't take their bath. The video was trending. Nobody could bathe. I left this region and I went to a place that was 12 degrees Celsius. But thank God I was able to check the climate of that environment. I was able to take warm clothes. I was able to prepare. So for young persons or for anybody that wishes to travel, they should always take our time
to research
about wherever environment that they wish to go to. Like my brother has said, when they travel, they carry our local food. Not the miss out, because the truth is you can't wake up in the morning and they give you a cuisine, one small container that looks like ice cream. Then they give you white rice without stew. We are used to rice and stew, but I never knew that people could eat only rice
without stew.
Yes. And the stew is just maybe something like water and meat inside. So you are not actually, that's a soup. So you eat the rice, you take the soup. We are used to pouring the stew
on the rice and mixing it.
Tomatoes. If our mother even make vegetable sauce, we'll be angry and say no. And so from porridge, we will make tomato because we are used to tomatoes. So imagine you go to a country whereby you are eating white rice without tomatoes for 1 week. You run mad.
Yes, it affects
or you wake up in the morning,
in
the afternoon when you want to eat, they give you green pepper that has been sliced. They give you raw tomatoes,
and carrots.
Then carrot and beef. Then they give you juice. I don't know what that food is, but people don't see. You see people, they are all smiling, they are all eating and smiling.
It's not friendly.
Where are the other parts waiting for our
thinking pounded yam,
waiting for our fufu, our pounded yam, a goosey soup with some meats at the corner, you know, or we are looking for something that can keep us. But I wonder how do we people eat this food and still move? Because by the time we consume the food, we don't move. By the time it's like appetizer. So the truth is, your food is one most important thing. Then, like I said, you have to look at temperature.
Okay, so safety.
Yes, so that you don't start doing fine boy and you carry t-shirts, a lot of t-shirts or just sleeves. If you get there, you might not be able to wear any of those clothes.
So safety tips.
Safety,
a few
okay,
safety tips.
Yes, safety tips like what Didi has said. Most of the time, you don't have to travel and come back and be treating ailments. So the most important thing about traveling is what he has just said. You check the weather condition of that place. Then also vaccines. There are some countries that are, prone to transmitted diseases. And so that's why it is very expedient when you are traveling outside the country, you get vaccines. The reason for these vaccines is to protect you against such, spread or widespread diseases elsewhere. When we're going to Jomo Kenyatta International, that is Nairobi, I think one of us was stopped at the airport because for yellow fever card. You understand? So whatever has to do with your health, you understand, while traveling, you must take it seriously. Yes, you must take it seriously. Then also, you also have to look at things you need to take into the cargo. You understand? When you are traveling, there are some things that are not expected to be in your bags and luggages.
Contrabands.
You get contrabands. You don't take these things inside. Perfume that are of large quantities. Some of these things can affect the fleet. You understand? They are very harmful also around where children are. So there are specific warnings. And you must also place emphasis on the detailed instruction given by the airlines. Whenever you want to travel outside the country, they give you your tickets. They give you the list of things you must do as safety tips. So it doesn't take you anything. 10 minutes of your time, you can go through these things and ensure you follow due process. And your traveling will just be as sweet as any other thing.
Okay, so before we go, it's just going to be our last question. Then we have the last two geopolitical zones, and we're done with the show. When you're traveling, there are some people who do not travel because they've heard things, they believe things, and so they just stay back. I know you mentioned something about the cost. Many people believe it's quite expensive. There are other myths that people have taken into themselves and they've digested it, and there's hardly anything you can tell them to make them believe otherwise. So what are some of the traveling myths you think we should debunk? And maybe in the process, another reason why I think people don't travel is they don't want to leave their job and not make money, and then they're being busy traveling. Is there a way they can make money as they go? But let's debunk. That's your last question, so you can also add any other thing you want to do, add to it quickly so we can go.
Okay, quickly, I just want to add that, like my brother said about, I want to quickly go to the safety now. When you are going to the north, we've heard about meningitis, and there are free shots of meningitis. So before traveling to some part of the country, you usually need to know the kind of health challenges or that you can be, especially when you're coming from one part going to another part. You need to know what is attainable there.
Yeah.
You need to know in short, your immune system, generally, the adaptation process and all of that. So there's need for you to probably take meningitis injection, yellow fever, like you said, and all of these things are free. So you can get them from primary health centers, even University of Benin health center. Usually give these things for free. I got mine for free.
Okay.
So yeah. Then for traveling is not really so expensive if you plan. First of all, when I was younger, I thought getting a visa was millions, getting one visa. But I got to find out that beside the visa fee, you don't, thank God for YouTube equally, you don't really have to spend so much traveling. And I equally thought flying was hundreds of thousands. When we went to Kenya, I think our flight was about 150 or 140.
Rwanda.
Even Rwanda. Yeah. So it was around that time. Now we are going to UAE. Our flight is about 220, flying to UAE. And we can get even cheaper flights to go. There are equally big flights like Lufthansa, KLM, Emirates, Etihad. These are big, expensive flights. You know, so mostly if you don't have so much money, you don't have to use those flights. You go for MO, you go to Kenya Airways, you go to even Air Peace. There are a lot of sorry, but there are a lot of,
because you're going to end up paying for this publicity you're giving to them.
Okay. Well, the truth is there are a lot of airlines that are actually very, very cheap to travel on.
Okay.
You get? Then for the visa process, accommodation too, it's not really that big. You just Google Airbnb. There are cheap places you can actually stay for as low as 4,000 naira, 2,000 naira outside this country. You know, even in UK, you can stay in Airbnb for 4,000. So
well, let me quickly say this and draw the minds of the audience back home. You see adverts. People tell you, we want to fly to Dubai 560,000 and the rest. Be careful of agents. You understand? Some of these prices that are outrageous, why you think they are too big is because you are not doing it yourself. You understand? These agents are actually collecting so much from you because they have to do some of these things at their own cost, and they are taking these prices outrageously. You don't need more than 250,000 naira to go to Dubai, for instance. The visa cost for Dubai is just about 47,000 naira. 47,000, and when you are using flights like Kenya Airways, you just need to spend roughly 200,000 naira when you book ahead. That's 247,000. But when you see adverts on everywhere, you see them giving you outrageous prices. What I will advise the audience to do, if you want to travel, go to Google. Go and look at the country you are going to. The answer has always been found in Google. Once you put anything on Google, you can get these answers. How much is Dubai? How much is a flight to Dubai? Cheapest flight. You check. It will show you not just Dubai, every other places. How much is the cheapest flight from Lagos to Kano? It will show you, rather than going through somebody or through somebody. So most of the time, you end up paying that much because you actually have to pay for their services. We are not condemning the places of agents or service providers. We are only saying the reason why these things are seemingly expensive is because you are not going through you are not doing it yourself. You are actually using these services and agents to do these things. That's why you think they are cheap, they are expensive. Also, it is a program in Nigeria. We have to talk about Nigeria and how Nigeria can become better. I believe if all these things we have said today does not fall back to how we can make Nigeria better and also make people look at Nigeria and want to come to Nigeria, it will not be valuable. So Nigeria should work on itself, like the things we have watched, documentaries. They should work on some of these our sites.
Tourist sites.
You see Dubai, the reason why Dubai has become one of the world's hub is because of tourism. So Nigeria can actually work on our places and other places and our tourist attraction points and make it worthwhile, why people can travel to our country. Thank you so much, Daisy.
All right. Thank you, Dili. Thank you, Divine, for being my guest today on the show. We're going to have our last documentary now, but we won't be coming back here. So you've heard us. We're done. So youth travel, a growing market, is indeed a growing market. We have more young people traveling more than older or elderly people. Most of those elderly people traveling, they are going to seek medical attention or rest. And I think it's a market that, apart from the government's developing interest, maybe even those who have made money, young people who have made money, you can buy off some of these sites from the government. If they're not ready to do the job, you do the job for them and make money on the side. It is a growing market, and we all need to put our hands on deck to ensure that Nigeria is not left behind. Dubai, that's one place that is so smart. I've heard that their tourist visa has been increased to 5 years. Like, for real? Okay, I'm done. I'm Daisy Leo Esekili. Thank you for watching. Let's have our last documentary, and we're done.
Many believe that northeastern Nigeria is riddled with violence and terrorism alone. This thought is far from truth, as the north in its entirety has a lot to offer in terms of culture and tourism, festivals, rich history and beautiful sights. The northeast is an adventure waiting to be explored. You can visit Taraba State to Gashkan Gumti National Park. It is said to be the largest wildlife park in Nigeria, with various species of games to view. The national park was created from 2 game reserves in 1991 and is in the eastern province of Taraba and Adamawa State to the border of Cameroon. The animal fauna is diverse, with over 103 mammal species recorded. The avian fauna also has an estimate of over 1 million birds and has been labeled one of Africa's important bird areas. The flora includes an isolated population of the red sunbird bush. In Bauchi State is located the biggest game reserve in Nigeria. The Yankari Game Reserve was established in the year 1956 and opened to the people in general in 1962. The primary amusement scene regions of the reserve are open, lasting through the year. People from around the globe visit the game reserve, with dominant travelers mostly from Japan, Western Europe, America and Southeast Asia. Elephants, primates, waterbucks, bushbucks, oribi, crocodiles, hippopotamus, roan gazelle, white ox and different sorts of monkeys. Lions are at times spotted too, regardless of their common camouflage. The best time to visit is inside November and May, when travelers are probably going to see more amusement since the thick vegetation has dried out and the creatures assemble around the waterways. South. One of the biggest cities in the South is Benin City, and there are several interesting sites to visit in this ancient city, like the Emotan Shrine. Emotan was a market woman who used to trade in foodstuffs around the 15th century at the Oba market of the ancient Benin Kingdom during the reign of Oba Uwaifiokun, who later took the name Oba Eware the Great after becoming the Oba of Benin. Widely by historians to be the pioneer of the first daycare center in Benin City, oral history also has it that she assisted Oba Eware in reclaiming the throne as Oba of Benin after several years in exile. And not so far from the Emotan Shrine is Igun Street. Igun Street, which is the home of bronze casting, is one of the 31 guilds of the Oba of Benin, which is very exclusive and impossible to penetrate. All members of the guild are related by common ancestor and descendants of Inenigun, who is the custodian of the street and bronze casters. Although it's very difficult to establish the exact time bronze casting started, time of the dynasty of Ogiso. During that time, the Oba was in charge of all bronze casted in the city until the British invasion in 1897, which also saw most of the artworks stolen. Igun is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A trip to the Benin Museum is also a welcome stop in Benin. Benin City Museum is a premium national museum. It was opened in 1973. It was located at the city center along the King's Square. National Museum Benin City boasts of a notable number of historic and cultural artifacts like the bronze figures, cast iron pieces, and terracotta related to the Benin Empire. The museum is regarded as one of the richest among national museums in Nigeria in respect to the amount of history it holds, not just as the Benin Empire but surrounding ancient city-states. The Benin Museum is working to have the British government return thousands of artifacts that were stolen from the city over a century ago. Cameras are not allowed in the museum. The museum has had cases where people come in, take photographs and attempt to recreate the artifacts found in the museum, so it banned visitors from taking pictures entirely. You, however, can take pictures outside the museum. And also in Benin is the Ogba Zoo and Nature Park. Ogba Zoo is a state-owned zoological park in Benin City, capital of Edo State, Nigeria. The nature park was established in 1965 in a forest reserve in the Ogba district, 4 kilometers from the town center. The area covers 750 acres of land and water and is home to local and other wild species, including primates, lions, giant tortoises, pythons, and antelope species. Sightseeing, take a trip to the Okomo Game Reserve. This park is about 2 hours drive from Benin City. It boasts of 33 different mammals, including forest elephants, antelopes, buffaloes, bush babies, and many more. Its most popular attraction is the white-throated monkey, which is an endangered species. It also has over 150 bird species, which makes it great for bird watchers. Besides the river, there is a swimming pool, a meeting hall, a tree house that lets you see the whole park at a glance, and chalets, accommodation for sleepovers. The Ikom monoliths are more than 300 upright carved stones in the Ikom area of Cross River State, Nigeria, varying in height from 1 to 2 meters. Many of the monoliths are grouped in circles facing each other and located in about 35 sites, which are evenly distributed within 7 main clans of Cross River State. While the image and text carved on the monoliths remain undeciphered, researchers and linguists believe that inscriptions may represent a prehistoric form of writing and visual communication. Oral histories of the region attribute the monoliths to the earliest residents of the area. An environmental study of the site has identified the most immediate threats to the stones: erosion, exposure to heavy rainfall, and extreme heat and sun, biological attack caused by high humidity, damage from falling trees, theft, and vandalism. In addition to the environmental threats to the monoliths, local agricultural practices such as bush burning also threaten the stones. On the Obudu Plateau in Obaliku local government area north of Cross River, this resort is a choice destination in the country. It has swimming pools for kids and adults, waterfalls, mountains to climb, a canopy walkway, a cable car ride, an on-site gym, babysitting and child services, a golf course, amongst others. It is perfect for honeymooners and family vacation as it encourages hiking, driving up the devil's elbow.